there. Many thanks for joining us on Aso Morning this beautiful, beautiful day. It's been raining, and I know a lot of people would struggle to leave their homes, but you have to get up. It's a weekday. I'm sure you have so much to do, so get out there and start working. Be productive. It will pay off at some point. And you know what they say about time for everything. This isn't the time to be sleeping. I'm saying this maybe because I struggled this morning as well, but the show must go on. As usual, we'll start with the newspaper review segment, and after that, we'll go join the Abide with Sustainability Pulse, that very interesting segment that gives us updates on climate change events and news, updates on environmental adaptability, how you too can join the advocacy for Earth, for everything that protects our Earth, our atmosphere, and or everything in between. After that would be agriculture for today and tomorrow, another very interesting segment that will give us those important tips on how you can join the agriculture train and be smart about it. There are innovations going on. Did you know about certain seeds and products that can be harvested here in the country and you too can make money from? That's that segment that gives you everything, the potentials in the agricultural sector. And that'll be it for Aso Morning today. We'll go for a short break. When we return, it will be time for the newspapers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from that. Sometimes I wonder if you would not mind having the behind the scenes. It will be very interesting. So much goes on behind the scene. This output, what you see, is just a fragment of all the hustle and bustle that goes on, and it's really interesting. Well, we move on now to the newspapers, and this morning we'll be starting with the Business Day newspaper. That's the paper that will jumpstart this segment, and the Business Day is taking us straight to it says few tools, empty shelves, inside story of Nigeria's health centers. The Business Day is leading with this story on the Nigerian healthcare sector. It says few tools, empty shelves, inside story of Nigeria's health centers. I have not read this article or this story, but it paints already by this caption right here paints a very bleak picture of the health sector. Our facilities says few tools. Well, we have been talking so much and discussing how we would improve our health sector and enhance activities there. People are dying needlessly. We have not finished talking about the inflation that has affected everything, including pharmaceuticals, affecting especially people who have routine drugs to take, can no longer purchase those drugs. People who have hypertensive people, diabetic people who must take certain drugs can no longer afford them. Pregnant women are having to suffer so much. Health centers and primary health care facilities are almost empty. We read that report earlier, but that is what the Business Day this morning is spotlighting. And it's unfortunate that health that is so important would be suffering at this time. I thought we would prioritize above everything health, because it could happen to anyone. There's no one that is immune to to shutting down once in a while. Sometimes you hear people say, I have insurance abroad, I pay for insurance abroad, I could travel. There are instances where you need first responders here. You need first intervention right here before you can travel. And what happens in those instances if you do not have a well-equipped, even if it's primary health care, because you don't know when it will strike. So I talk to public office holders, everyone who can help this sector be better should do their best, absolutely do their best. It's really unfortunate that we can be recording these things at this time, 21st century, and we're talking about few tools, empty shelves. No, even if all our proceeds from subsidy should go into the health sector at least for a year, I would not mind. I would not mind, because, well, sometimes you ask yourself, what comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Because I just thought of how we would prioritize health and know that maybe there's universal insurance, maybe we would have some initiatives that would really help equip our healthcare centers from the tertiary level to primary healthcare and all that. But I now remember that, what about food? Because food is just as important. And if you do not have good nourishment, your immune system will be down. So these things can actually work simultaneously. But above everything, we need our healthcare sector reformed. Moving away from that story, we have still on the Business Day news. It says Atiku leads PDP splinter group into coalition. Atiku leads PDP splinter group into coalition. That's a very funny one. What does this mean for an Atiku's ambition? Does it mean he's still running? Has he abandoned the PDP ship? A lot of PDP stalwarts had been very optimistic about the NEC meeting that will solve everything, that will bring about that semblance of structure and peace and calm in the PDP. But we're reading here now that he's leading a splinter group of the PDP. What does that portend for his political career moving forward? Should this coalition not work, or should he now start having hitches in the coalition? That's a bold move, very bold, but I guess he must have thought long and hard about his political future and where he feels like he can thrive. In truth, the PDP has given him a platform for several years now to be able to run, and very often he actually clinches the primaries ticket. But after that, what? He has been unable to get to the president or emerge president with the PDP ticket. He can understand. He, I'm sure, must have thought of how him and the PDP members will be disillusioned at this point to say, maybe it is you, maybe it is not the platform. Let's try someone else. Consecutively giving you opportunities to run, and you have not clinched that ticket. I can understand. I'm sure he's done this calculation, and he knows that the PDP will not want to give him a ticket, or his members of his political party will not support his once again presidential ambition. And so there's a splinter group this time to the coalition, and there's been rife conversations that this coalition may adopt a party like the ADC. It's not official just yet. It's not official. The conversation is still very rife. But we would see how it goes, because like they have said, it is too early, or rather too late, to now start all over again in trying to register a political party. Simultaneously, I spoke with Babache Lawal, who also admitted that they haven't sent names. You remember that INEC had talked about the coalition not having brought about all its requirements, but Babache Lawal is saying that, oh no, we did not even send anything to INEC for registration, because we understand that it's not yet time to register. It's too early, or too late rather, to register a political party, garner grassroots support and everything that's necessary to get people to know this political party and run with it. A lot of Nigerians are so funny, aren't they? Imagine having to start a coalition and somebody is there sitting somewhere and saying, you know what, it's time, I'm going going ahead to register the coalition, when the arrowheads of the coalition haven't even, brought about the registration and details. And little wonder why the requirement was not met. Ideally, you do not have all it requires to register a political party. With that, we move on to the Daily Times newspaper this morning. The Daily Times is leading with the story, federal government threatens to withdraw abandoned oil licenses. Federal government threatens to withdraw abandoned oil licenses. I wonder why those licenses are abandoned. Maybe the federal government should, instead of quickly trying to withdraw, and which is why a lot of people have distrust when it comes to federal government and especially businesses like this. Have you addressed reasons why these people may have abandoned their licenses? Are there challenges that as a government you can come in to fix? Have you given them some time to get their act together? Are you hoping to reallocate these licenses to your cronies? These are those questions that hammers and make people unsure whether to trust the government at all. But why would you have a license and not do something about it? Is it for bragging rights? Oh yeah, I own an oil license. So you should want to do something about your oil license, as the government is threatening to withdraw the oil license from that. At the footer of the Daily Times newspaper this morning, we have no land allocated to Wike's children in FCT. Olayinka is saying that. I didn't even know there was speculation that land must have been allocated to the minister's children, but there is there's a debunking here going on that no land was allocated to Wike's children. But what? Are they banned from owning lands in the FCT? I don't understand. What if they can afford to buy themselves lands? I don't understand. I don't understand it. Are they banned? Because I'm hoping I will get money and buy land for my children and build maybe for them. Are they restricted? Dreaded terror kingpin Yellow Dam Bokolo dies from gunshot wounds. That's coming from the DHQ, the defense headquarters. Says dreaded terror kingpin Yellow Dam Bokolo dies from gunshot wounds. INEC ready to release supplementary election regulation guidelines. Yeah, we all wait. We hope that it is one that would ensure transparency and a fair elections moving forward. REA partners FCMB to launch 100 billion financing facility. And here, right at the footer, it says NSITF pays 23 million naira compensation to both mishap victims' family injured worker. That story is on page 15 of the Daily Times newspaper. And above the masthead of the Daily Times newspaper, Atiku, Mark Secondus, others urge PDP members to join coalition. Beat that. Atiku, Mark, I think that's David Mark right there. Secondus, others urge PDP members to join coalition. Child labor falls by 22 million, 54 million still at risk. International Labour Organization is saying that child labor falls by 22 million, 54 million still at risk. Well, we must be doing something right if we have a decline in the number of children that are engaging in child labor. Moving on from that to the Punch newspaper this morning. The Punch has splattered. The entire newspaper has been taken by that story that we've been doing for a couple of days now. Remember, like I have reminded everyone who cares to listen, that the FCT minister, or rather the FCT, is in commemoration of the president's 2-year anniversary, is launching for 17 days, commissioning 17 projects. I think there are more than 17, but it's a 17-day commissioning would I call it a plan? And let me just read from the advertorial here. It says President Tinubu commissions Ushafa Buhari Area Council roads today. The Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister ASONYE CON, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, on behalf of all residents of the FCT, welcomed His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR to the commissioning of the dualized and upgraded Ushafa to War College Army Checkpoint roads and other ancillary roads in Buhari Area Council. Okay, that's happening today, Wednesday, the 2nd of July, 2025, at the Ushafa roundabout at 12 noon. And the president is here. The president's face is here, of course. We are excited to have that. Again, I'll reiterate that we must commend the work that the FCT minister has been doing to ensure there's a facelift and give the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, the deserved aesthetics and face. Someone had said that we are celebrating. I had a conversation with someone who said we're celebrating the smallest things, and I wonder. I said, yes, that's because that's what we've got now. But this is a springboard for bigger things to come. If we do not start now, we should have started yesterday. I get that. But are we going to sit back because we didn't start yesterday? Like the African proverb goes, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, but the second best time is today. And that's what we're celebrating right now. Congratulations to the FCT minister for the work he's been doing. There is indeed a facelift in the FCT. As sometimes the roads that I was familiar with just seem so alien. I'm driving and I have lost my way. I can't even find my way around, but thanks to Google Map who has quickly calibrated those roads into navigation. Otherwise, some of us will be completely lost. You will forget the road to your own home. That's how changed the FCT is. If you've not been around for, say, 6 months and you're returning to the FCT, I bet you will miss your way. You would definitely miss your way. So much has changed. And thank you, Mr. Project. That's the one thing you can't take away from. But the Punch newspaper has, right above the masthead of the newspaper, it says, marketers stop Dangote's price cut, retain high fuel costs. Marketers snub Dangote's price cut, retain high fuel costs. That's unfortunate because you would expect that they will want prices to come down, but here they are snubbing Dangote's price cut, and that is where you and I now come in, because again we have hammered on how important it is to have healthy competition. That's the one thing we celebrated about having refineries, having the subsidy removed. Again, I would say over and over, this is the healthy competition we want in our economy, where, okay, if you do not want your price cut, some of us will go look for Dangote fuel and buy it because it's cheaper. It has good quality as well. So why not? So that's the healthy competition. So those who would not bring down their prices will be forced to bring it down because they must sell. So yes, I like what's going on. I really do enjoy what's going on. I know that we would all smile at the end of the day. I don't want to repeat what the president keeps saying. It's a teething period. It's like a pregnant woman who would go through the pains before when a bouncing baby boy or girl is born or whatever. Yes, I understand this is the processes that we necessarily need. Some of us, I for one, saw a report, I don't know if it's confirmed yet, of the Port Harcourt refinery working at a certain percentage. I'm not sure at the moment, but we need other refineries. We need price cuts. We need these prices to go down. We need our transportation system, which goes without saying, energizes the economy, to be running and running smoothly. Okay, the other story still on the Punch newspaper, that still goes to 2027. It says 2027 crossfire. APC strikes back after David Mark Lamido slammed Tinubu's government. And oh no, this is quite tiny. I can't read the riders there, but that's it. APC strikes back after Mark Lamido slammed Tinubu's government. But we're moving on now to the Daily Independent newspaper. It says, Independent newspaper, still talking about the coalition, it says, Atiku, Mark Secondus, PDP bigwigs ask members, Nigerians, to join the coalition. Says APC government is now a disaster, must be voted out. Indices of development have collapsed. Life now hell in Nigeria. Coalition not threats to APC, says Dalori. Ruling parties as acting chair. But notice how Atiku is not saying anything about the PDP. He's saying let's vote the APC out. APC is a disaster, indices of development, but he's not telling us why. If APC is a disaster and he's been in the PDP for so long, why is he leaving the PDP? Is the PDP a disaster too? Is everyone a disaster but his coalition? That's a question to ask this coalition. And the concerning thing about why political parties are formed is just, let's get this person out of government. Let's get this person out of government. Beyond that, I just hope that the coalition has set down a blueprint that actually prioritizes development for people, getting us to the desired heights that we know Nigeria can attain, and not just let's get President Tinubu out of government, which is very unfortunate if that is the case. Like I said, I had a meeting with one of the pioneer members of the coalition. I'm not sure if that's the proper word to call them, but yeah, pioneer members of the coalition, and the conversation was around, oh yes, we have more, we understand governance, we've been in the APC, we've been in the PDP, it's a convergence of different political parties, and we are hoping that with our different ideologies we can come and cook up one that is more people-centric, and all the beautiful words politicians say. It was wonderful to listen. Once again, all I could think was, here we go again, here we go again. But that said, French government, moving away from that story, says French government doles out £38 million for ICT infrastructure in Nigerian varsities. French government doles out £38 million for ICT infrastructure in 10 Nigerian varsities. That's very good news. I hope it good. They did not just dole it out like the Independent newspaper is saying. I really hope they will see to the implementation of the facilities are brought in, and we actually see young people have opportunities to have resources to better themselves, especially in the ICT. Lots of Nigerian players in the ICT are unfortunately self-taught, and it's exciting to know that we could have the French government, support us, intervene in that regard, and I hope that it would just bear fruit. Moving away from that, AKK gas pipeline, NNPC announced successful crossing of River Niger rather. Tinubu names former Nasarawa Governor Al Makura board chairman of UBEC. Isn't he the person a lot of Nigerians, or rather a bloc in the APC, wants to emerge as national chairman? Is this some compensation so he doesn't eye the national chairmanship seat? Well, Al Makura, now board member, board chairman of UBEC. Dangote's initiative will stimulate economic growth, energy experts are saying. That story is on page 7 of the Independent newspapers. INEC sets to release new guidelines on reviewing declared elections or declared results, as it is written here. But that's it for the Independent newspaper this morning. We move on to the Vanguard. The Vanguard again, as usual, as it has been for several days and about more than a week now. The Vanguard has right here that story of the FCT commissioning the dualized and upgraded Ushafa to War College Army Checkpoint Road and other ancillary roads in Buhari Area Council. And the beautiful thing about what he is doing is it's not concentrating these projects and development in the city centers. Yes, the city centers has had a facelift, that's for sure, but we are also recording all of this happening in satellite towns as well. This is going on in Buhari as we speak, but the Vanguard was able to squeeze in some stories here. It says, worsening abductions, killings, Boko Haram's renewed attacks, others alarming, Sultan's JNI is saying, he says, worsening abductions, killings, Boko Haram's renewed attacks, others alarming. Wow, that's sad. We're seeing a lot of work that especially the Nigerian army is doing, and I really hope that we would eventually be victorious in this fight. But the Sultan's JNI is crying out right above the masthead of the Vanguard newspaper. Oil production, federal government to withdraw license of firms with dormant oil fields. We had taken that story earlier. We move on now to the Daily Trust newspaper. The Daily Trust is the last paper we would be taking ahead ADC's meeting today. Atiku woos PDP leaders to coalition. Atiku woos PDP leaders to coalition. Below the masthead of the Daily Trust, how we can transform livestock sector into modern business. That's coming from the minister. How we can transform livestock sector into modern business. Military kills 10 terrorists at Nigeria-Cameroon border. Military kills 10 terrorists at Nigeria-Cameroon border. INEC proposes fresh guidelines for review of election results. That's at the footer of the Daily Trust newspaper. INEC proposes fresh guidelines for review of election results. Dantata buried in Saudi Arabia. Boko Haram, the rise and fall of bandit warlord. Okay, we had taken that story earlier. There's another one here. Lagos traditional ruler dethroned 6 chiefs for impersonating him at Labour Party campaign. Impersonating him? I wonder how that works. Did they go there and claim they were sent by him? That would be very mischievous, especially when it is in a political party setting where the presence or seeming presence of certain leaders could sway and sway votes and influence participation and involvement of maybe his subject. So I can understand why he would frown at that, but I know the political terrain in Nigeria. If he has been dining with, say, the APC, the ruling government, imagine him being impersonated in some Labour Party event and someone going to the governor to say, by the way, we saw this traditional ruler at this event, or he sent chiefs in his stead or whatever. And imagine what the governor will say, oh, you? And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons we frown at what's going on. What's going on with this tool that we revered so much. The governors have within their constitutional powers to remove and appoint chiefs. What happens to that traditional transition of leadership in our traditional setting? And it gave them the opportunity and the strength to look any governor in the eye to say, you're not doing well for my people. It was some sort of, but now everybody's afraid of the governor because the governor appoints, the governor also would dethrone or remove certain chiefs at will, as he so pleases, and that's what's affecting a lot of our political decisions right here, because and the strength of our democracy, because we've had instances where young, innovative, energetic people, who are really smart people, who really know what to do if they had the opportunity, would come to consult their traditional rulers, and the traditional ruler says, I'm sorry, our votes are for the governor has told us who to vote here, I wish we could do more for you, but we can't, maybe better luck next time. The governor has given. That is the problem. Can he go against the governor? He will lose his seat. And who's ready to sit on that place and lose his seat? Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the newspaper review segment. It's time for sustainability pulse, rather, with A by Day. We'll be back after that. Stay with us. Promises to be very interesting.
everyone. Welcome to another powerful edition of Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide. your weekly check-in on climate action, environmental justice, and sustainable living on the African continent. I'm your host, Abaide, and today we are tackling a subject that affects what we eat, shop with, and even breathe in: plastic pollution. We're not just talking about the bottles and bags. We are diving into the engine room of change: policy. What is Nigeria doing to stop this plastic tide? Are laws working? What role does governance play in protecting our land, waters, and people from this crisis? Stay with me as we uncover the answers in this episode, titled Policy and Pollution: Where Nigeria Stands on Plastic Regulation. We're going to short break now, and when we return, we shall deep dive into all of these things and have a fruitful conversation. Stay with us. Do not go anywhere.
Africa stands at the front lines of the climate crisis. Over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. 1 in 3 face food insecurity due to climate-induced droughts and floods. By 2050, over 100 million people on the continent could be pushed into extreme poverty because of climate change. Plastic waste is piling, forests are vanishing, coastal cities are sinking. Yet, we are not powerless. Africa is also the youngest continent, with 60% of its population under 25. We hold the energy, innovation, and drive to reshape the future. From solar-powered villages to bold climate tech, from green entrepreneurs to eco-warriors in slums and cities, the pulse of sustainability is rising. This is Sustainability Pulse with Abaide, the show where truth meets urgency and action meets hope. Together, we decode the data, amplify the change makers, and reclaim Africa's future, one story at a time. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Welcome to the Pulse.
Welcome back from that short break. The conversation is still about policy and plastic pollution. Plastic is not just a pollution problem. It's a policy problem. You see, the plastic bottle on the roadside or the nylon float in the gutter isn't just litter. It's a signal. It tells us where enforcement is weak. It tells where policy is absent or outdated. It tells us where governance is either reactive or missing entirely. Nigeria as a country, as a nation, generates an estimated 2.5 million tons of plastic waste annually. According to the World Bank, that's almost 7,000 tons per day, and less than 10% of Port Harcourt to Jos. Our streets, drainages, and rivers are drowning in the flood of sachet, bags, wraps, cups, and containers. But the bigger question is, are our laws moving faster enough to keep up with the problem? And where are these laws? Are they being enforced? This week, we're peeling the back from the layers of plastic regulation in Nigeria, the wins, the setbacks, and what needs to change. Now, let's take a pulse about the environment. Let's check on climate and environmental news from across the continent. Let's see where we are at currently, and of course, the best way to go forward. In Lagos, the recent ban on single-use styrofoam products is finally being enforced after months of public outcry. People have been shouting and, being aggressive about the whole conversation and ban on single-use. Despite resistance from food vendors, environmental officials say this is just the beginning of a larger crackdown. When you hear a crackdown, you can imagine what's next. And of course, in Rwanda and Kenya, they continue to lead the way in Africa with near total bans on single-use plastics. In Rwanda, carrying a plastic bag can earn you a fine. Or worse, while Kenya's plastic bag ban has reduced litter in urban areas by over 80%. Can you beat that? These are interesting times. I gave an example at the last episode of, when I went to Kigali as far back as 2021. And you would pay for a shopping bag if you do not come to the store with your own bag. And at the United Nations Global Plastics Treaty negotiations, the African group is calling for fair, binding rules, including financial and technical support to help countries like Nigeria shift towards sustainable alternatives. Absolutely, I agree. I agree. The funding and technical support is needed to tackle this menace. Nigeria's legal framework on plastic. Let's talk law. Nigeria has 3 major policy instruments shaping how we address plastic waste. NESRIA, the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, issues regulations like the 2009 National Environmental Sanitation and Waste Control Regulation, which outlines waste management duties for states and businesses. However, compliance remains spotty due to limited enforcement and awareness. If you don't know, you can know. I keep saying it. You got to create awareness to drive implementation. And the truth is, enforcement and awareness go hand in hand. If you do not create awareness, you do not educate and inform, how will they know? You know, Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR, launched in 2013 and updated in 2020, is meant to hold producers accountable for the life cycle of their packaging. Meaning, as producers, you must fund recycling, take back programs, and even redesign products. But only a handful of companies are truly complying. Many treat it as optional. It's not supposed to be optional, it's supposed to be enforced. It's supposed to be enforced. If I produce something, then I must see to the lifespan of that thing. You know, and that needs to be forced. You'll be amazed how many companies will wake up if this is fully enforced. Plastic Waste Control Regulations 2020. These are Nigeria's latest attempt to crack down on plastic pollution. They promote phasing out single-use plastics, encourage sorting at source, and mandate public awareness. But then again, where is implementation muscle? The laws exist, the frameworks are there, but what's missing is a consistent, strategic, nationwide enforcement approach. The federal versus state policies. Are we speaking with one voice? What is said in Lagos, is it being said in Abuja? What's said in Abuja, is it being said in Kano? What's said in Kano, is it being said in Jigawa? Nigeria is a federation, and that can be both a blessing and a burden. Some states are pushing forward with their own plastic policies, while others lag behind. Take Lagos, for instance. Its ban on styrofoam and open dumping has earned praise. But what about Kano, or Bayelsa, or Jigawa, or Edo states? The disjointed nature of our federal system means a ban in one state doesn't carry over to the next. Exactly as a federation. I mean, states have reserve the right to come up with their own policies, and the policy mismatch weakens national momentum and makes it hard for producers and recyclers to plan. A company making biodegradable packaging in Lagos might find no market in a state that still subsidizes plastic. That's the truth. That's the truth. So are we moving in different directions, or are we finally speaking with one voice? And this goes on and on. The implementation and challenges are the major bottlenecks. Let's be honest. Really, passing a law is easy. That's the easiest part of it. But enforcing it, that's where Nigeria has struggled. Corruption and vested interests slows down enforcement. Some regulators turn a blind eye, especially when large producers are involved. Lack of infrastructure. We simply don't have enough recycling plants, sorting centers, or public bins. Even where facilities exist, that's the truth, many operate at less than 50% capacity due to poor waste segregation at source. Public apathy and fatigue. Of course, so many people are tired. After years of inaction, citizens often think, why bother? Why do I have to abide? They are not wrong. Laws with no teeth make enforcement feel like a joke. Until we fix the back end, the systems that collect, sought, penalized, and incentivized policy will remain link on paper. It's just be linked to one paper document. That's all. Nothing, no action. No action at all. So please, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we will examine the role of businesses and citizens in plastic regulation. A short break, and we're back.
Africa stands at the front lines of the climate crisis. Over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. 1 in 3 face food insecurity due to climate-induced droughts and floods. By 2050, over 100 million people on the continent could be pushed into extreme poverty because of climate change. Plastic waste is piling, forests are vanishing, coastal cities are sinking. Yet, we are not powerless. Africa is also the youngest continent with 60% of its population under 25. We hold the energy, innovation, and drive to reshape the future. From solar-powered villages to bold climate tech, from green entrepreneurs to eco-warriors in slums and cities, the pulse of sustainability is rising. This is Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, the show where truth meets urgency and action meets hope. Together, we decode the data, amplify the change makers, and reclaim Africa's future, one story at a time. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Welcome to The Pulse.
Welcome back from that short break. As usual, this is not just a show, this is a movement. Now, we're talking about policy and pollution. The fact that we have our laws, beautiful laws and regulations in place, but we have issues with implementation. The enforcement is weak. And as a result of that, the response to that law, to that regulation, is not being paid any accord. Now let's look at the role of businesses and citizens in plastic regulation. Now, one of the greatest misconceptions about solving the plastic pollution crisis is that it is solely the responsibility of the government. That is not correct. But I mean, the truth is, you can't do anything without the government. The government can set the framework, yes, absolutely. Can pass the laws, can issue the guidelines, but without active participation of the private sector and the engagement of everyday Nigerians, even the most well-drafted policies will struggle to take root. Now, let's break it down into two powerful forces: businesses and citizens. The twin engines that can either accelerate or stall Nigeria's progress on plastic regulation. The role of business. The truth is, shaping the supply chain, in Nigeria, for example, when I say with plastic footprint, is heavily influenced by the way products are manufactured, packaged, and sold. This is where businesses come in, especially those in fast-moving consumer goods, And of course, when you talk about corporate responsibility in action, some Nigeria's largest multinationals have already taken steps recognizing their role in the pollution they create. Companies like Nestle Nigeria, Coca-Cola, and Guinness, have become members of the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. Yes, which is a very strong alliance, I hear. And private sector-led initiatives backed by the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agencies, NESRIA. Now, through this alliance, these companies commit to recovering post-consumer packaging. In other words, cleaning up what they've put out. You do something, you produce, you clean out. You're taking responsibility. Now, they are implementing models of extended producer responsibility, a globally accepted approach where producers take ownership of their products beyond the point of sale, especially after use. Now, it includes funding recycling programs, yes, partnering with waste collection services like what they do with Loma in Lagos, creating incentives for customers to create and return packaging for reuse or recycling. But here's the catch. These efforts are commendable, but they only scratch the surface. Nigeria's economy is not just powered by multinationals. Millions of small and medium-sized enterprises, street vendors, market women, packaging companies, supermarkets, fast food outlets continue to rely on cheap disposable plastic to survive. For many of them, sustainability is not a priority. Survival is. This is why we need incentivized policies that help small businesses transition gradually. Access to affordable, biodegradable alternatives, tax breaks for companies investing in eco-packaging, training and awareness programs on plastic alternatives, inclusion in plastic credit schemes where they can benefit financially from sustainable behavior. Unless we make it easier and economically viable for SMEs to go green, we will keep treating the symptoms of pollution while ignoring the roots. And that's the truth. We will keep ignoring the problem. And the role of citizen, it's actually enormous. It's enormous. Advocacy, accountability, and action. The truth is, you can be a citizen and you think it doesn't bother you, or it's not your thing, but it affects you. Like I keep saying on this particular program, that when you talk about sustainability in itself, and living sustainably, it's about you saving your life. It's about you taking priority for what truly matters. It's about you caring for the planet where you live in currently. Too often, we actually underestimate the power we hold as citizens. But real lasting change always begins with people-led pressure. What can citizens do? What can I do? What can you do? Everyone watching here today, what can we do? Know the law. Start first by educating yourself on your local and state waste management laws. Lagos State, for example, now bans styrofoam, single-use plastics and all of that. Are you aware of similar efforts in your state? Practice civic advocacy. Citizens have the right to demand cleaner environment. Yes. The Constitution of Nigeria, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under Section 20, even mandates the states to protect and improve the environment. It's a mandate there. But this must be activated by public demand. So do you even know it's your right to ask for this cleanups? It's your right. As much as possible, as citizens, participate in cleanups and local action. Beyond the online hashtags, physical participation in cleanup drives, recycling clubs, and neighborhood waste. Campaigns can be powerful, yes. So you need to go out and campaign, join, lend a voice. Do what I am doing with your friends, with your colleagues, with your church members. Every piece of plastic picked up is one less choking a drain or floating into the ocean. Start or join a petition. Do not underestimate the power of a well-organized petition. It is a legal tool of democracy, yes. If you don't know, better know now. When people organize and amplify a cause, decision makers, they listen. But you must be organized and be well amplified. A real example from Abuja was in 2021. A group of determined youth, climate activists in Abuja, launched a grassroots campaign. Their mission was to get the city council to ban single-use plastic at the official government events. But guess what? They actually gathered signatures, came together, created a simple social media movement, and just presented a policy brief. What was the result? What was the result? It was fine. The recommendation was made. Even though that ban, that single plastic use ban has not been implemented, but something was done. And a movement was created. A movement was created. And recommendations were made, and the government officials were able to look at the recommendations to see what they can do. An effort was made. And that is it. Efforts have to be made. And this group, that was in 2021. Yeah, I remember vividly. They made so much, I've actually forgotten the name of the group now, but they made so much effort. They formed coalitions and they made strong recommendations on the ban of single use here in the FCT. That rang a bell. Even though, yes, it wasn't implemented fully, but recommendations were made, voices were heard, actions were taken. The government saw people in action. And I mean, government at least responded by even calling them to the table to say, what do you mean? What do you explain to us exactly how you want us to drive this? And those are the small things, the government can do. Consistently and constructively citizens can do their own bits, you know, all the time. And why does this matter? Why does this matter? Laws alone cannot solve the problem. We need a cultural shift. If businesses keep packaging water, drinks, bread, and suya in non-recyclable plastics, we remain stuck. Yes, we remain stuck. If citizens keep demanding convenience over sustainability, we enable the cycle. But imagine, just imagine yourself, every business began designing products with their end of life in mind. So it means that I'm producing water, and how that bottle will be recycled is something that I will take into consideration while producing that bottle for that water. Every consumer carried a reusable bag or bottle. Just imagine that every consumer today will have a reusable bag or bottle. Every neighborhood had a plastic recovery station. So there's a station in every local government or every ward where people go and drop, you know, their plastics. Every community had a monitoring group that held governments, local governments accountable for environmental laws. Just imagine. That is how a culture of sustainability is born. Not just from policy, but from the collective habits of people and businesses working in tandem. Your voice matters. Your habits matter. Change starts with policy, but it's powered by the people. By all means, it's actually powered by the people. You know, and here's your tip for the week. I would not leave here without dropping the tips as usual. You know, say no to single-use plastic. I say it all the time, and I'm not tired of saying it. All the time we come here, we say it all the time. We mention it. Say no to single-use plastic. Carry your own shopping bag, reusable cup, your cutlery, even your metal straws. Have it in your bag. One person rejecting disposables can inspire 10 more. And when enough of us shifts, businesses will take notice, and policy will follow suit. Also, educate others. By all means, when your neighborhood or local government area passes a law on plastic, share it. Awareness is enforcement's best friend. Did you get that? Awareness is enforcement's best friend. Awareness is enforcement's best friend. So when have we learned all of this? When we have learned all of this and, you know, it becomes part of us, then enforcement will be a lot easier. But first, we have to be aware. Nigeria has policies. We have signed so many. I mean, we've signed even international commitments. We have drafted regulations. But policy without action is no performance. And performance doesn't clean our gutters or save our oceans. No. Actual action. As citizens, we must hold our leaders accountable. We must demand stronger enforcement, better infrastructure, and incentives that reward circularity, not pollution. Remember this, laws shape culture, but voices shape laws. Let your voice rise through advocacy, through your daily choices, through how you vote and how you live. A clean, secular, plastic-free Nigeria isn't just a dream, no. It is possible, but only if we move from policy, from paper to the pavement. You've been listening to Sustainability Pulse with Abida. I hope that, as usual, you've taken home that very salient point on how you can live sustainably. I keep saying it. This is not just a show. This is a movement. And I urge you all, while living sustainably and thinking of the planet, you are thinking of yourself, you are thinking of your health, which is important. Saving the earth and saving the planet is as good as you saving yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. Join us next week, as always. You know, shine a spotlight on yourself as an individual, as a citizen, and take charge. And take what? And take charge. You know, and that is how Nigerians can rewrite history. We can actually rewrite the story of climate change. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles at TEI_advocacy for more inspiring conversations, for more inspiring, informative ideas on what you can do as an individual. Until next time, stay inspired, stay conscious, and stay committed. This is not just a show, It is a movement. Go out there and live sustainably and take into consciousness your daily habits. Until next time, see you next on Sustainability Pulse with A by Day. Do you have a blessed time? Thank you.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, channel 127, or YouTube live stream, GSA Initiative. Agriculture for today and tomorrow, as we share groundbreaking ideas, empowering farmers, and celebrate greenhouse solutions. Together, let's grow the future.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning from whatever part of the world you are today. This is Agriculture for Today and Tomorrow, where we promote smart solutions for greener harvest. I remain Daniel Black, your host, and this is a agricultural media for agricultural development program aimed sponsored by GSAI, Growth for Sustainable Agriculture Initiative, to use media platforms to create advocacy, awareness, and sensitization on sustainable agricultural farming methods. It's the rainy season and farmers are so busy. If you reach out to a farmer, if you had a farmer that was doing some menial jobs for you this period, you'll find out that they are no more available. Everybody is busy, and beyond even those doing menial jobs for people, you will be surprised at how many people have adopted farming, have gone into agriculture. Where we were trying to set up our project at GSAI, we sought for farms, and everywhere everybody's farming maize, everybody's farming potatoes and different types of crops, and it's just so exciting to see that so many people have ventured into agriculture. And as is our practice here, our task, our main objective is to use this platform, to use this medium to create education on sustainable farming techniques. So today we are going to be talking about sustainable farming methods to use in the rainy season for optimal harvests, for optimal production. That is what we are going to be talking about today. Of course, in the rainy season is a time that so almost all farmers, 90% of farmers in Nigeria are waiting for, because that is the majority of farming practice that is being used. Very few farmers are able to practice irrigation farming. And someone would think that, oh, the rain is a blessing to farmers. Yes, it should be a blessing, but if care is not taken, the rain can also present challenges, can also present obstacles to better yield, to improve yield. And that is why today we want to educate, sensitize farmers on the different practices they should put in place even as the rains are here, to ensure that they are able to maximize the rains and also insure themselves of any damages that may come with the rain. So we are going to be talking about these different farming techniques, sustainable farming techniques that could ensure that in spite of the rains, you are still able to get the best maximum value from your farm. What are you farming today? What are you farming in this season? What have you done differently to ensure that in the harvest period, you will not be found wanting, you will not be found starving, you will not be found among those that are complaining of the high rise of produce. And yes, I'll agree that today's episode may be really a little bit biased towards crop farmers, the practices. In the next episode, we'll also check about the practices that livestock farmers are supposed to incorporate in their farm to ensure maximum production. So we are going to talk about first soil conservation and erosion control, because one thing you need to know is that in your farm, once it begins to rain, once the rain begins to come more consistently and more heavily, your farm is very, very prone to erosion. And once there is an erosion, you find out that the topsoil is washed away. The topsoil where most of our crop nutrients are found, that is where crop eats from, the topsoil. And when it is washed away, it is washing, when those topsoil is washed away, you are reducing the amount of nutrients available to the soil. You understand that the soil beneath is a bit stronger, is a bit harder, and our crops may not be able, especially vegetable crops, may not be able to really uptake nutrients from that part of the soil. So the topsoil is very, very key. And so what are the things that we need to do to conserve soil conservation and erosion control? So number one of the methods we talk about is contour or terrace farming. Contour or terrace farming. So contour basically is to understand your landscape, your crops that spread on the soil, like beans, that's cowpea, like potatoes, like watermelon.